Hello everyone and welcome back to the Football Forecast, and in today's video I'm going to be going through my A-League predictions for this season. If you enjoyed this video, it'd be great if you could head over to the YouTube channel and subscribe. And the reason I'm covering this is because I'm an Auckland FC fan. Obviously the club was only founded a year ago, but we had an incredible season. I'm a season ticket holder and I love going to the games every week in the Port. If you watch this video, it'd be great if you could let me know who do you support and where do you think your team will finish. So I'm going to start off with obviously teams that should be relegated, and the reason it's not relegated and not should be, if you didn't know this about the A-League, it is because there's no relegation, and that's partly to do with financial reasons. I don't like it. I think that teams should have to go down. You should be punished, but also it creates, I think, it creates an actual interesting games for every game of the season, because what happens is the teams that play each other in the lower down table, it just doesn't matter, because who cares if you finish 12th or 11th, really. You might get a little bit of prize money, but that is it. With relegation, there's always threat that you could go down, and those games are often the best in football, those drama games where it's all about surviving, and I really wish that the A-League would bring this in at some point. So I'm going to start off with Central Coast Mariners, and that is because I think Central Coast Mariners will finish 12th place in the A-League this season, and that is because of their transfer business, but also their last season. The Central Coast Mariners have actually had a brilliant couple of years before last year, but now we've sort of seen the decline on them. And if you look at their departures, this is where I'm concerned. Mikael Docker, very good winger for the Mariners, gone. They've also lost Kaltak. I mean, Kaltak was a brilliant centre-half. I think Auckland FC should have sniffed around for him, but there's a chance he may want to stay in Australia as he's gone to. They've also lost Alan Kowal, who's the brother of Garang Kowal, who ended up at Newcastle United, and he's a real talent at the striker. So that's the problem for them. They've lost 3 of their key players, and their replacements I don't think are that good. I like the keeper, Andrew Rimbene, on a free. I like that player a lot. The rest don't really cover any of these positions. On the incomings, and I'm just not that convinced. I don't think any of these signings really replace the players that they've lost, apart from maybe James Donachie, but I haven't seen a lot of him. They've also brought in Andrew Rimbene. I like this player, this keeper, a lot, but it doesn't really fill in the gaps of where I think they've lost key players. I mean, at least Donachie is brilliant. Kaltak was such a massive loss in my opinion. It's a great pickup for Perth Glory, and for that reason I just can't see them anything but rock bottom, the wooden spoon. Let me know where you would have the Mariners and all the other teams in this league in the comments. As well as this, the Mariners finished 10th place with a way better squad last year, so I think they're in for a lot of trouble, and I think that's why they're going to be rock bottom. Right, on to Wellington Phoenix, and I've tried to be unbiased as possible here and putting them in 11th place and not rock bottom. I think there's very much an argument for being in rock bottom, but it's a very similar argument for them to be honestly being in 11th. And that is, I don't see a lot of incomings that I'm like, oh, that's a great player. And look, that's partly because they've got quite a few imports. I haven't really seen them play, and I just don't know what to expect. They might be quality, and if they are, maybe they can push up the table. But I think the main thing I can base this off is the fact that they've lost Kostas Barbarouses, their best player, or one of their best players, that's for sure. A guy that's consistently got them goals, and it's a great pickup for the Western Sydney Wanderers, and I think this is a massive loss going into the season, and this could cost them dearly. As well as this, they've also lost Sam Sutton, and look, this is a difficult player to replace, a very solid player for the Phoenix over the years to Perth Glory. On to the last side that should be relegated, and that is Brisbane Roar. If this was to be brought in, I don't know if 3 teams would go down. It'd probably be a maximum of 2. But anyway, I've chucked it as 3 teams, and I've got them in 10th place. Look, it is an improvement for the Brisbane Roar. They didn't have the greatest season last year, one off the wooden spoon, but they've brought in some decent players, I think, this summer. For example, James McGarry, who is actually previously played at the A-League for Newcastle Jets and managed to earn himself a move to Aberdeen. There's also some other decent players in there. And I haven't watched these players play hugely. I'm not going to sort of kid you. But what I can say is they've brought from some good clubs. So Athens, they've also brought from the top league in Serbia. And look, these sort of players, Crew even, that come through at these sort of divisions, have experience and often are good enough, I think, to play in a league like the A-League. I don't think it's going to be as bad as last season for the Raw. I think they are going to improve, not drastically, but enough to move into 10th place. On to 9th place, and I've gone with MacArthur. I like the look at some of their buys, especially that Caceres that they've got from Sydney. he's a good player. I think he could do well in this sort of sides. And look, this squad's decent. It is just aging though, and that's where I'm concerned for a side like MacArthur. Similar finish to last year though. Last year they finished 8th place. I think they'll be about mid-table again. Not quite good enough to get into playoffs this season. In 8th place, I've got Perth Glory, and this will be very much an improvement from last season where they finished rock bottom for the 3rd year in a row. And that is based off the fact that I actually like Perth signings. They've brought in Caltac, who I rate really highly. Look, he didn't have his best year at Central Coast Mariners, but I think Caltac's a very good defender. I like the signing of Timmins. I like the signing of Kucheraski, and I definitely like the signing of Sam Sutton at left back. I think he's a very solid left back, and I think that could be enough to maybe sneak them into 8th place. It looks better than usual. The main one though is Caltac, who I think could sort out that Perth Glory defence. Let me know where you would have Perth. And in 7th place, just missing out, I've got Adelaide United, and that is because of the players that they've lost. They've lost a lot of good players, including Archie Goodwin. And look, where are the positives for them? They've replaced him with Craig Goodwin, a very good player and such a good deal, getting a brother from a brother. But I'd say Craig Goodwin's the better one. He was out in Asia last year, just earning some big money. But now he's back for Adelaide United. I mean, he's such a good player, Craig Goodwin. And look, he's their threat. He could pull them further up at the table. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And also some of these frees that they've brought in are going to be important, but I definitely think Craig Goodwin is probably the best deal, arguably, of the A-League this summer. So into 5th place, and I've got the Australian Cup champions, which is Newcastle Jets. And look, I know a bit about their business, decent business. I like the keeper they brought in from Adelaide. I like the attacking midfielder in from Sydney FC, and I think the centre half they brought in is alright. That's what my thoughts are. The other deals, fine. I'm not too knowledgeable on them. But what I'm basing this off is what I watched in the Australian Cup, and I thought they were very impressive. And I think you can base that off a bit, especially when you're not too knowledgeable about all the players they bring in and all the players that go out. And that's what I'm going to base this on. I think they had a very good Australian Cup campaign. They showed that they can be a good side this season, Newcastle Jets. I think they're going to overperform and finish 5th place. Into 4th place now, and I've got Melbourne Victory. I think this is quite an obvious 4th place. I think the next 3 teams are actually the clear sort of, I think, favourites for the title. So look at the players they brought in. Obviously, they were pretty impressive last year, Victory, getting to the final. They've also added Juan Mata. Now, this is an interesting signing. I think Juan Mata can be useful in a certain way, and that is sort of last 20 minutes of a game, or maybe he can get through 40, 50 minutes. It doesn't appear to me that Mata can get through too much more than that, unless you sort of play a system that suits him, and maybe that is the plan. The other players I'm not hugely knowledgeable on, I think you can trust Melbourne Victory. They're usually quite good with their scouting. Looking at the players they have lost, though, they have lost Daniel Arzani. That, for me, feels like a pretty big loss for Melbourne Victory. He's a very good player, Arzani, but they'll have to deal without him this season. In 3rd place, I've got Western Sydney Wanderers. And look, I've been impressed with Western Sydney Wanderers transfers so far. And as well as this, I think they actually had a decent season last year. And I think they brought the players in to build on this. The likes of Barbarousis and Kowal is very impressive. Look at the other players they brought in. They also preserve, I think, a purpose in the squad. And I think it's very impressive. They spent a bit of money this summer getting all these players. And I think these players will be on decent wages. And I think it was right to get rid of Juan Mata. I don't think it was really working out, and I think that was the right deal to do. Just get rid of him. Look, it's a great name to have in the club, but you're better off spending the money, I think, in different areas. Then on to Melbourne City, and they are going to be 2nd place for me in this league this year. And look, Melbourne City haven't done a huge amount of transfer business, but I was really impressed with them sort of at the end of the season. They're also obviously won the playoffs. They did very well, Melbourne City, last season, and I thought they ended it so well. And they are the threat, I think, for Auckland FC this season. I would put Auckland FC as slight favourites, but these lot are a very good side, and it's going to be a challenge. And look, let's see how they get on. I think what they did at the end of last season was very impressive. We struggled against Victory. They didn't make Victory look like too much of a challenge. As well as this, I thought they cruised through their other game against Western United, who is obviously now not a club. And I thought in general they ended the season really well, and they were sort of the team I was worrying about come the end of the season. season. They were the team we're going. We just need them to drop points so we can finally win the league. And if we don't play as well as we did, I think, at the start of the season, these lot could definitely chase us down. And that, of course, means that my champions are Auckland FC. Let's go fucking back-to-back. We can do this. That's what I think. I think we're a good enough side to go back-to-back and win the A-League premiers once again. I think we can do this. I look at our incomings and I'm very happy. Now, there is one slight issue I will discuss, but Consengrove, I think that's the perfect deal for us. Sam Consengrove, in from Barnsley. I think this is exactly what we needed. I was screaming out for it last year. We just need a big striker who's got some experience. He's scored so many goals at Aberdeen, was the second top goal scorer at one point in the Scottish League for a season, and he's a brilliant player. I think he'll do very well for us, Sam Consengrove, and that's the big deal that we've brought in. Then Lachlan Brook, I think that's a very good deal. He was very impressive in the A-League last time he was there. Ollie Sale, I'm a little bit worried about Ollie Sale as a player that comes in. He really struggled with Perth last year, but I still think there's a good player there. Like, Ollie Sale is a good keeper. He's just struggling. This is obviously a downgrade on Paulson, and that's where our issues are, the defence, as well as the Scott Morris. He came in on a free from Stoke, but he's retired injured after picking up another long-term injury. And then we obviously brought in Jake Gerwood-Rich on basically very late in the deal on loan. And look, I'm not convinced by the centre half. I haven't really seen him. He's quite young, quite inexperienced, and he is just filling the gap of the Nando Pinnock injury. And that is what my concerns are for Auckland FC. We're going to have some issues defensively, potentially. Look, hopefully Nando can get back, and I think if we can have Nando Pinnock and Dan Hall with Sakai De Vries, that's definitely the best defence. In terms of also going forward, we've got De Vries, who's got such a good delivery. But the problem is keeping everyone fit, and that is my concern for Auckland FC. Also losing some valuable goals with the likes of Nadar Moreno could be a problem. He scored a lot of late goals for us. That experience of Tommy Smith, Toomey and Galloway didn't play that much last season, so I'm not too worried about them. And I think the one advantage that Auckland FC have, which Phoenix have as well, but I think we can execute this better, is we only have one game a week. We don't have to worry about going away to anywhere in Asia. That's really useful. Look, I hope one day we'll be able to play in Asia. That would be a dream, being able to watch Auckland FC against some of the top Asian teams. But for now, that's not a possibility. But it does give us a massive opportunity in terms of winning the A-League this season. And I think we're going to go back to back. And this year, I actually do think we go all the way and we do the double this time. Let me know your thoughts on this A-League predictions, but this isn't the end of the video. I'm still now going to cover sort of my awards for the season, who I think they're going to be the top goal scorer, for example. I promise this isn't all going to be Auckland FC, but my top goal scorer for this season is Sam Consengrove. I was saying last year, as I just said, all we needed was a big striker who could hit a football. That, for me, is what Consengrove will provide for us. I just need to stand in the box and put the ball in the back of the net, and I think he will get off to a fly with the likes of De Vries delivering into him. There's going to be masses of opportunities. Hiroki Sakai getting the ball in the box. It's going to be all about, I think, getting it into this big man. And look, there are other good goal scorers, but I think he is the best. Don't worry, this isn't all going to be Auckland FC, but he's certainly a player that I think could end up being top goal scorer. Then we've got Craig Goodwin, and he's going to earn 2 awards. The first one is, I think he'll be the signing of the season. I think Craig Goodwin will turn out to be one of the best signings of the season. And if Adelaide go further than what I was saying, though, he will definitely play a massive factor. And look, he's going to be Adelaide's main player this season. He's a very good player, Craig Goodwin, and I think he's going to prove this. As well as this, I also think he's going to be the player of the season. I think Craig Goodwin is this good, and he will earn the player of the season award. Look, and the reason he might not get it is because Adelaide don't perform well enough as a team, but I think Craig Goodwin could 100% be the player of the season. I feel like this is a very obvious award, but we're back at Auckland FC, and it's Stevie Corica, who I think is going to be the manager of the season. I mean, if I'm saying that we're going to do a double, then he's certainly going to be a high candidate. And I think if you do a double, there's no chance you don't get it. He was also got so many of the manager of the months last year, and of course was manager of the year. I think he does this again, and I'm going with Stevie Corica. This award is for a player that I think changes a team of a new signing or just a player. And I've gone with Caltac. I think you could have gone again with Craig Goodwin. But for me, Caltac earns this. And that is because I think he's going to be really important in keeping a lot of clean sheets for Perth Glory this season. Or at least keeping the goals out. Something that they've struggled to do in the past. And I think it'll be the reason they ensure they don't go in the rock bottom and can more think about ahead and not what's behind them. I reckon these lot are set to score a lot of goals, and that's why I think the Western Sydney Wanderers will score the most goals in the A-League this season, considering that they've just also added Kostas Barbarouses to an attack that already had the most goals last season. And in the team, I think that will keep the most clean sheets this season, I've gone with Auckland FC. And I think this is possible as long as Nando Peinica stays fit and we don't lose too many players out through injury in defence. If we do, then I don't think this will happen. I think if we can get that back four going of Sakai, Danny Hall, Peinica and De Vries, it's pretty unbreakable. I know we didn't end up doing this. We ended up conceding, I think, the second least last year. But I think that was mainly because of the second half of the season. First half of the season, we were unbelievably good defensively, and I think he'll try at least be a bit more solid throughout the season and keep those clean sheets going for as long as possible. Obviously, that's not always possible. You can't always keep a clean sheet, but Auckland FC proved last year they can. Obviously, we don't have the same level of keeper with Ollie Sale coming in for Alex Poulsen, but I still think we have a very good defence. There's no doubt, though, Melbourne City will be right behind us. So that is the end of the video. If you enjoyed this video, it'd be great if you could subscribe to the YouTube channel where I discuss Auckland FC, A-League content and New Zealand football, as well as potentially some Australian football. It's going to be interesting to see who wins it. Let me know who you think will win it, as well as let me know who you'd give out for that stuff that I've just mentioned. And that is the end of this video. I hope your team goes well, unless you're Wellington Phoenix.